15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to Talking, from the live podcast produced by Indy Radio, where we break down the mystery, the terror, and the twists of the hit TV series. Hosted by Jen and Kinte, this is the show where we review every shocking moment, every haunting question, and every chilling clue. And from strangers find themselves trapped in a mysterious town they cannot leave, forced to survive against deadly creatures that come out at night, while uncovering the dark secrets hidden all around them. You can watch from on MGM Plus. Get ready for live reactions, deep discussion, bold theories, and real talk about one of television's most unsettling shows. And now, here are your hosts, Jen and Kinte.
Welcome everyone to another edition, a special Mother's Day edition of From. Happy Mother's Day to every mother out there, except the mothers in the TV show From, who obviously sacrificed their children to some kind of demon, thus creating the hell that we have. Okay, so we got a lot to talk about this episode, and obviously we need the coolest co-host ever, Kinte. Kinte, how are you?
I'm doing very good, and I'm so happy to be here, and happy Mother's Day again to you. And if your kids ever complained about the way you mother them, tell them watch From, and you will take it all back.
Just tell them on Kui and see if that brings anything up, you know. Whew, yeah. So, okay. Real talk. This episode, I think, oddly explained a lot, even though it felt, again, like it was sort of a, I wouldn't call these filler episodes. They're very character developing, but we get a lot of plot stuff going on here. And I'm always really excited to see what they do with the characters and how they sort of grow through the trauma that is bringing them sort of all together in this, and why it feels so unique this time around, and how incredibly special that actually is. I have a bunch of ideas this time that maybe are going to seem out of place, and who knows if they're right or wrong, but let's get into it. So if it's okay, I'm going to sort of skip around a little bit, but let's start with sort of where we left off the last time. Jade has the magic mushrooms. They're at the beginning of the episode, everybody's sort of reconvening in the huddle room, Boyd's sheriff's office, and everybody is discussing, which is new for From, everybody's discussing the latest updates. Now, in previous seasons, one of the things that's always been so frustrating is some people have some information, and Boyd is really a gatekeeper of information, and he doesn't want other people to know it, not because he's trying to guard it or hoard it, but because I think he's afraid that people aren't going to react to it in a way that is going to maintain their sanity or, you know, not break apart the community. And I think he's actually onto something, because we see what it kind of does to Acosta. We didn't see that in this episode, but we see what it has collectively done. And a couple of other people who just, the guy who goes into the tree and ends up in the pool, he's just looking for a way out. There's a lot of things that giving people more information here is a dangerous line. And it's echoed in the saying in the barn, knowledge comes at a cost. So starting out with knowledge comes at a cost and then watching everybody talk about what they have all just learned does absolutely seem like we are on the road for something pretty serious to happen. So, I would love to hear from you, Kinte, about how you felt, first of all, about how this episode started off. And also, the one thing that Boyd doesn't mention at all is anything about Abby. Everybody else is basically coming clean, and Boyd is still sort of holding secrets close to the vest. So, how did you feel about that?
I feel like it's typical Boyd, People justify their actions by saying it's better for the group, and we can debate if that's true or not. But I believe that that's what it is. And then also, it's kind of an armor by not sharing everything. It's like you're protecting yourself in a way. At least that's what I believe that they believe. People who do this, especially this character. So I think that's kind of what it is.
Well, in my house, we had this discussion. Sorry, I got a little bit of a scratchy voice, so if I sound funny, I apologize. In my house, we had a discussion about how every time something comes up that seems fantastical, everybody around them goes, "That's crazy. That's can't be real." Sort of ignoring the fact that nothing that has happened so far feels like it could be real. Like at some point, don't you think that they would all be going, yeah, okay, we live in this fantasy world where crazy things could happen, and stop ignoring each other when they say these things that sound like, yeah, okay, maybe this is crazy, but sure, I'll indulge you. Because that just sort of seems like, yeah, there's monsters roaming around that are really weird. There are things that are happening here that are way outside of the laws of logic. But I feel like part of the town is this sort of like need to rest in whatever reality they can find. Like the harder the reality is, the more tethered to sanity they are, because to not be tethered to that hard reality is a bit like just accepting that there are no rules left to the universe. And oddly, this episode gives us a great example of that, where Sara talks to, and I'm so sorry that I forgot her name, but the lady who's now running the diner. She used to be the bus driver.
Mm-hmm.
And Sara says, "I'm so glad that you reopened this place." And she says, "Yeah, I feel like people need something, like they need that kind of ritual, the existence of every day as something to do." I loved that because I felt like, yeah, that's exactly what the show is trying to say. So I guess when I ask this question, how do you feel like so far the people in the town, including our main characters, are holding up right now under the stress and the pressure of what's happening? And this conversation dovetails immediately into what Ethan is telling Tabitha. So just bear that in mind.
It's interesting. I think at times they handle it way better than you would think someone would in that situation. But other times, which is much understandable, is that you feel like they're falling apart. There's aspects of living there that messes with your psyche. It messes with your perception of things. It actually makes you paranoid, and it also makes you wonder, what is real and what is not. And so I feel like when those things start to happen, like there is moments where it feels like it's almost a normal life, right?
Right, right,
But then it changes to this. No, then you're reminded, that there is um, danger always lurking. Just when you start to feel comfortable, then you're confronted with it. But it's interesting how there's a few people that are on their own quest. They're trying to figure out what they're trying to do. But then there's other people who seem to just be existing. They're
right, right.
trying to survive, trying to live a day-to-day life. So it's really interesting, uh, the whole thing.
I think I think one of the more interesting things is if you go back to the very beginning of this series and you watch especially that first scene with Boyd ringing the bell, which we don't even see him doing very much anymore.
Right. It's so
There
iconic
was
too.
there was this sense of order. There was this sense of ritual and um, schedule. The town set up its boundaries for here's what you can do and here's what you can't do, and everybody abides by it. And that has eroded. So, in a way, Sophia is right. It really did start to change when Julie, Ethan, Tabitha, and Jim and Jade came to town. Suddenly, everything began subtly but noticeably to shift. And it's not too long after they arrive in the town that Victor notices that the trees are moving, which is also another aspect of this episode. So while we sort of get that there was a fixed order to things, Boyd brought, he's Mr. Fish and Loaves, he brought this sense of we can have abundance, we can do things here to make everybody comfortable. The group that came in with Jade, Tabitha, Jim, and the kids really upended that, and sort of ever since then, it's been a bit crazy.
Mhm.
So, give me. I know we're spending a bit of time on this, but give me your take on how how you think sort of the previous seasons have treated this sense of wanting to keep things in order to where we are now, where life is really chaos, a different kind of chaos, but there is no set order anymore. What do
Hmm.
you think?
Wow, that's very well said. Yeah, it's funny when we see people who get stranded and they finally are made to realize what they're dealing with. We see them go through the different phases of I don't want to say grief, but phases of, I guess, coming to understanding of what
Mm,
they're dealing with. Some people, most people react around the same, but then others they deal with it differently. So it's very interesting. Like at some point, I think it's just human nature that you just adjust to almost any situation, right? Because we'll sit here and say we would never, I would never do blah blah blah, but when
right.
you're forced with the situation is out of your control, you have no choice. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? And it's interesting to see how different characters, deal with it. Jade he pretty much never really settled in. He's always been trying to figure out, and I think a lot of it is just the way that his brain works, and what he does, for a living, is that and then he has such a life to get back to as well. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think he's definitely different than other people who seem to just get to a point where they just accept their fate.
Well, I think it's taken Jade a lot longer to sort of have his epiphany. And I don't just mean the Onkui piece either, because I do, well, that was obviously, very, very pivotal. It's not actually where I think Jade began to understand that his place in the story is real, that it's tangible. But he also does this thing where he takes one step forward and two steps back, where he's like, at the same time that he's trying to meditate in the Brundles, in the last episode, he also is like, sort of shooting down Ethan's idea about the Lake of Tears, but, begrudgingly goes with them. That piece feels really important because he clearly still hasn't quite gotten to the point where he feels like the rest of everybody about what's happening here. If anything, I would say that his ego gets in the way. So in this episode, Jade takes the magic mushrooms, chomps them up. I was even joking that he should have made a tea out of them or something. But people who are more, let's just say, learned than I am about these things said, no, that would dilute it. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. They're in a cursed land, and like Tabitha says, we're in the middle of someplace we don't even know what this stuff is going to do to you. How do you even know you're going to survive? And he's like, I don't. So golf clap for Jade for, consuming the mushrooms and everything. But a lot of what Jade does this episode is sort of like shadow and follow other people around, not knowing if he's on his trip or not. And so far, he's not on his trip. My guess is that next episode, we're going to see a big trip in Jade, and some crazy things are going to happen, and maybe we'll know if it's real, and maybe we won't know if it's real. I'm not sure. But are you brave enough? Would you take mushrooms from the middle of the forest that you didn't know if they were going to send you on a trip or possibly kill you?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I'm not that brave.
Said by
or
a sane
stupid.
person.
Mm-hmm.
But in some ways, I do kind of feel like this is the desperateness that he's feeling is sort of wrapped up in that. So after Jade consumes the mushrooms, the episode moves on, and Tabitha explains that she is going to basically help Ethan, right? They're going to go out to find the Lake of Tears. And I think the way that Tabitha is experiencing this is not that she actually wants Ethan to find the Lake of Tears. It has more to do with her thinking, okay, I'll humor you. Maybe this is about your grief for your dad. We'll take you out and find the Lake of Tears, because what else are you gonna do? How are you gonna process grief if not kind of in the way that you think your kid really needs to experience it? Man, I gotta say one thing. I do not, and you tell me if you think I'm wrong, I do not feel like Tabitha is a very good mom. I know she's trying, but wow, the things that she does and doesn't do are just baffling to me. As a mom, I struggle with this. I struggle with it a lot. Like, what are you doing? Every choice that Tabitha makes me think that she's just not being a good mom. So I don't know. What do you think? Am I being too hard on Tabitha?
You are not. She's a terrible mom, terrible wife as well. I definitely agree with you. And her kids have a reason to be the way they are when it comes to her to a certain degree,
Right.
So yeah, I felt like Jim was much more loving than she was.
Well, at least Jim had this sort of shepherd effect on his family, keep everybody together, keep everybody kind of moving in the same direction. Don't let anybody stray too far away. And at least he had that. Tabitha doesn't even seem to have that. It's so crazy. But to her credit, she stops by the bus after Tabitha and Randall are reading and consuming the information from the Grand Gulagog and the Cromonacle. And it's kind of interesting that, first of all, the very first thing that they say is it's not that kind of relationship. And I've actually felt that from the beginning. I don't think that Randall or that Julie sees Randall that way. And I really don't think that Randall sees Julie that way either. But in any event, Tabitha's got to do her due diligence. She says, okay, fine. If you're going to stay here, she pulls Randall outside and gives him kind of the talk and says, don't let anything happen to her. Okay, that was marginally good, at least. But an interesting thing happens when Julie is reading the book, and they discover the part about setting bookmarks. But before we even get to that, one of the things that I found very meta-contextual and super interesting was the idea that maybe the book's author had escaped from a place like From before. That is, maybe this is not an isolated experience. Maybe this is something that either other people have experienced in other places, or maybe this place, there is a way out, because the only way that you could get out and have that material be available to you is if you escaped, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's right?
No, I think that is definitely right. I believe that there is a way that maybe the author was the person that found it. I wish they were more direct on how to do it, but I guess that that's how movies and TV shows are. They're not going to just tell you the blueprint lately.
I feel like this is like there's a reason that we waited until season 4 to come back to the Cromanacle and the Gulagog, because we can't, because the story blueprint has to be obfuscated just a little bit so that the characters can sort of really understand what's going on. And at this point, it's really just Julie and sort of her wanting to be the story walker, or understanding that she's the story walker, that is fueling the interest in it. Ethan, by contrast, is sort of off now on his own quest, which sort of separates him from the rest of the story, as it were, which is also just so interesting. It's so crazy the way they're telling the story. But to Julie and for Randall, this idea of Julie being a story walker is a crazy, crazy good idea. And I wanted to point out that this is, I was thinking ever since I saw the episode. So how can we know that Julie has been to From before, or not before, but has been story walking since the very beginning? And I'll tell you how. So episode 1 sort of is them getting into town and the things that happen when they get into town. It's also us seeing Sara being evil. Yeah, all that. But the very start of episode 2 of From, Glenn, Julie, Elgin, and Jade. They're all carrying Jade. They're running up into Colony House, and Julie is just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I don't understand what's happening. And there's creatures that come around the corner on the porch of Colony House, and the boy, the teenage boy, looks at Julie and says, "Hi, Julie. Don't you remember me?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's episode 2, right? That's the very beginning of episode 2.
Season 2.
No, season 1.
Oh, okay.
Season 1, episode 2. Like, this is the very start. And Julie was all, we know.
Wait, Elgin wasn't in season 1?
Yes, he was. Oh, I'm sorry. Not Elgin.
Ellis.
That's
what you threw me off. I was like,
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Ellis, Glenn,
okay.
and everybody was carrying Jade up into Colony House. But the idea that Julie has been story walking it's like from the very beginning, we understand right there that this is different. They don't say that to anybody else. Julie is different. Okay, so now we're going to jump a little bit forward and we're going to talk about Julie going into the ruins, which is what we have on our screen right now. And she believes two things. First of all, she got her hair cut so that the monsters don't pull her hair. Okay, I guess that was practical.
Mm-hmm.
And she makes a mark on a piece of paper. And her idea is to throw the piece of paper someplace where she could then later figure out if what she does in the past, the bookmark itself, ties her to that point. And I feel like she's fundamentally getting something wrong, which I'll explain in a second. But what did you think about that scene altogether? What did you think was going to happen? Because what I thought was going to happen is not what happened at all.
Oh, I thought that she was going to be proven right, but obviously she wasn't. So kind of threw me off there. Right? So no, but I thought it was really cool though, and I like it because it really advances the story in a way that sometimes in the middle of seasons of From it doesn't happen. So no, I really thought that was pretty cool.
I'm surprised that the place that she went to was basically the end. Well, was it the end? I don't know, but it was definitely the end of the cycle for everybody except Victor. And the idea that she sees the man in yellow and the man in yellow doesn't know who she is. He doesn't call to her. He doesn't look like there's no recognition. So this is a fixed story point at this point for the two of them because it sets the stage for the man in yellow now to know Julie. I've seen you. I know your face. I know I'm going to see a lot more of you, but that was the very first. Okay, so the man in yellow is, greedily eating liver. So gross. This is so. There's some moments in From that are so visceral, this is definitely one of them. And this is the tie-in to Victor and his dad. And if I guess I'll ask you. How do you think this frames the man in yellow? Like, what do you think is going on here?
I think part of his power is consuming people, which I didn't think that would be it. It just seemed like he'd be a little bit more than that, but that's what it seems like. Maybe that he's eating not for hunger, but to consume somebody's essence, possibly.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's good.
So, but then again, he looked pretty hungry, so I could be wrong. But I mean, he could just be getting his fill. Um, I hate to keep bringing up other stuff, but do you remember? Doctor Sleep?
Yes.
And remember, they needed the steam to stay alive. Or maybe that's what he needs. Is that
That I hadn't thought of that before, but see, I always thought that the man in yellow was different from the creatures.
Right? He's definitely different.
And he definitely has different powers, but if they all need to consume, that kind of puts them in the same, at least they are kin to each other.
Like I guess we have to think about what is his ultimate end game, because if he wanted to, he could just kill people one by one. So I don't think that's it. Like, what is it that he wants? What is it that he desires? Why is he a part of the group? Is this like fun? I mean, it kind of seems like it's kind of fun for him because especially the priest, the way that he kind of reveled in the fact that he murdered him, so like, what is his ultimate end game? What is he trying to achieve? What is it that is he just playing with them? What is it?
There's something there's something both insidious and calculated about what's happening with the man in yellow, which is hard to reconcile because clearly one of his intents is just to create terror. And also, he does it in such a way that I you know, there are times when this idea of hubris comes to mind. And it is the downfall of many, many, both villains and heroes alike. They are too cocky and they think that they know everything, or they think they have mastery and control over the universe when they really don't. And there is something about the way the man in yellow behaves that makes me think that that is his downfall. He doesn't know everything, but that's also his superpower. He knows enough. He knows much more than the people in the town. And it allows him to sort of operate outside of the boundaries. Now, let's talk about the man in yellow for a second in this episode. So, first thing that we should talk about is his relationship now as Sophia with Sara. I don't know why this was such a weird moment for me, but when Sophia is in her room and Sara comes in and then Sara leaves and he starts to do that funny like prayer chanting thing, and Sara feels it at the bottom of the stairs. Ooh, man, that gave me chills. What'd you think about that?
Oh
And
yeah,
what do you
that
think
was.
happening there?
Oh yeah, that scene definitely. One, it was creepy. It was quite creepy when she did that, and it kind of just went into more things that the man in yellow can do.
Yeah. And
Which we weren't aware of.
and has it been the man in yellow all this time that has been speaking to Sara, saying kill the boy with that, writing on her arm, uh giving her the power to do that automatic writing where she, you know, colored the thing that Father Cautry had seen, and a bunch of other things. Has it been him this whole time? I mean, I seems like that's what they're saying. Would you
I, I
agree?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's what they're saying. But the most interesting thing about what happens here is this idea that this was really all just one extended test, like of Sara. Um, okay, and honestly, Sara failed the test badly. I mean, she passed the test for the man in yellow, but she seriously failed the test. So the chanting apparently gave Sara the voice said, "Go to the diner, get water, put it into a cup, drink it, and pour it back into the pitcher." And so Sara goes through this sort of like existential, should I, shouldn't I? And ultimately, at one point, says, okay, I'm not going to do it, right? And dumps out the water. At that point, Sophia either falls or she says she was pushed, quote unquote, into the pool, breaks her arm, and oh no, Sara thinks that's the proof that they are watching because the voice said something bad will happen to somebody that you care about if you don't do this. I am so sort of sick of Sara not getting the point that the voices never tell her the right thing to do. Am I wrong?
No, no, you're not wrong at all. That's why they keep going to her because she's an easy target. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my God.
I mean, it's just the truth. She's an easy target, so that's why they're going to her.
It is, it just, it's like watching somebody play with the definition of insanity, right? doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But this time it's gonna work. I mean, she might as well be trying out for the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote cartoon, because definitely this time she's gonna get the Roadrunner. It's almost unfathomable, but it was such a cool dynamic. I loved watching that. I thought it was just such a great power play between the man in yellow clearly being able to kind of orchestrate and play on people's feelings. And honestly, I wouldn't think it above him to use something else very similar on Elgin, because Elgin has also proved to be extremely impressionable. So I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. I don't know what else did you notice about that? This interaction was actually fairly brief, but it was packed with a lot of meaning.
Yeah, it was definitely. I feel like it was the calm before the storm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely think that Sophia is planning something very big, and clearly Sara is at the center of it. Man, poor Sara. Okay, so we've got that sort of going on in the town, and then let's flash forward to Boyd getting called up to Colony House because basically everybody is very concerned, which honestly they should be, about Fatima. And we see Elgin leaving Fatima's room. He's got a hose. They've got all their dirt. You know, who knows what? I thought maybe she was going to be like, I need to, I don't know, sculpt or something. Honestly, I could not have imagined what she was going to do. So Glenn checks in on her and goes, "This is crazy," calls Boyd. Boyd comes up. And Boyd, I think, rightly, for the first time, stops, takes a breath, and says, "Okay, let's actually work out what's going on here." Like, this is one of the few times when I feel like Boyd sort of understands the human psychology behind things. And in large part, I think that is due to Kenny. Kenny is such a good influence on him at this point. But tell me what you thought about that whole scene from start to finish when we find out what Fatima is building and how Boyd sort of reacts to everything.
Yeah, it definitely showed growth on his part, because he didn't feel like the same old boy that we've seen, because he even says at one point, I don't know if I should stop her or join in and help her, which was definitely a departure from what he would have probably said in past seasons. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed it.
I do. I want to just sort of circle back one quick second to Sophia and Sara, because Sophia says something very interesting while she's in the clinic getting her arm all taped up. She recites the Bible story of Abraham being tested by God, and how basically God told Abraham to sacrifice his son. And whether we know this or not, Sophia says, well, the plan was never that God was going to sacrifice Abraham's son. It was a test. It was the test of faith. And that sort of story and then explanation made me think back to some of the things that we've been talking about for a while now, which is believing in things is sort of half the battle. I mean, we talked about this early in the episode, where when you believe that things are happening, it sort of lends something to it. Things that are scary become more scary. Things that you feel like you should ignore become background noise. There is something about believing in the things that are happening here that matter. And I don't know exactly how, but I felt like that was an important aspect of that whole thing. For such a short piece, for such a short segment, that part of the story this week really carried a lot of weight, at least in terms of explaining from, as sort of both what the characters are doing and what the intent is, but also what has happened to this point. Like, it really feels like, yeah, this explains a lot. You have to believe in this place in order to be both controlled by it or to have control of it. Because the opposite of this is happening with Victor right now, where he believes because he's written it down. He's made all these incredible pictures, right? And that's how he keeps the story straight. He has all of these memories that he doesn't pay attention to in the moment, but they're archived. It's like a book that you read one time and then you don't go back and read it again, but you remember little bits and pieces from it, and when you have to, you can go back and find the page you were looking for. That's what Victor's pictures remind me of. But in this episode, Victor comes sort of clean with his dad about what really happened to Miranda, his wife, and that the man in yellow ate her. And tell me, how did you feel about what happened there? And I guess what do you think the impact of all of this is? And also, I have to say this out loud. I have never felt so emotionally invested in a character like Victor before. I both feel so sad for him, but also am like, this is the strongest character that we have in From. He has weathered everything that this town can throw at him and somehow still manages to be a functioning human. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely sympathetic because of what he's had to go through. And one thing too is, I thought when he got his father that would bring more joy to him, and not quite yet. You know what I mean? It hasn't happened necessarily yet. It's been kind of awkward, the whole situation. But I don't know. He is a fantastic character, and definitely someone that pushes the story in a way that others don't, because he has the most history there. How old is he supposed to be now on the show?
I think he's supposed to. Okay, so that would have the we know that the early part of this was like in the 70s. Tabitha, I think, is like 30 something. So Victor would be like in his 30s, because Tabitha is supposed to be the reincarnation of Miranda.
Right.
So I would think he's like in his 30s, right?
Yeah. Okay.
What, I guess, do you think is going on with that? Like, I mean, one of the really touching moments was Victor trying to tell his dad about how the trees have moved, and his dad says, well, let me help you. And it's not let me help you like, oh, this is stupid, which, if I could just say, is such a stark contrast to the way that Tabitha views Ethan's quest, that it comes off as being, it's genuine. He really wants to support and believe in his son. I mean, am I getting this wrong? Am I seeing this off? Because like, I see the relationship between Victor's dad and Victor so differently than Tabitha and her children.
Yeah, and they're making up for lost time. Um, and it's funny because Tabitha, in a way, brought all of them to get there. Her own
Yeah.
family as well as Victor's dad. So, not to blame everything on her, but uh, so I don't know. But can I go back in time a little bit on the show?
Sure. I mean, that's basically what it's all about. So be my guest.
I'm a story walk. When she got out, supposedly, and was out for a little while, are you disappointed how that all happened? How it all she just ends up right back, like,
No.
because I know you
No.
believe that she never left.
Yeah, I do. You know what? And now that I think about it, Kinte, I have to revisit my understanding. Victor's got to be in his early 50s.
Right.
Because he was most likely just a little kid in the 70s. So he's
Right.
got to be in his 50s right now. So I apologize. I got the math totally wrong. No, I don't think Tabitha ever escaped. And the reason that she never escaped again is because she saw the boy in white outside of From. This is not the cyclical nature of what's happening is revelation and information coming at a cost. And so Tabitha discovered a bunch of information, had revelations, learned about the bottle tree, learned about Miranda, and it all came at that huge cost. And the huge cost to her was she basically ended up not just back in From, but also brought other people in with her. Like it's weird how sinister the rules of this place are, but they are really sinister. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
How do you see it? I mean, tell us how you see it.
well, I'm gonna say this is I was hoping for a lot more than it was. I was kind of disappointed
Hmm.
when it just ended up there. Like I thought, but I understand as more stories being told, kind of why she had to be back there, you know. But I thought, man, how cool would it be, like on the outside as well as on the inside? She's trying to get back, but which is very similar to Lost,
Right, right.
we got to get back to the island. So I don't know, man. Like I don't know. I thought it was gonna be bigger than it was, and it really wasn't. So it was just
I,
kind of yeah, it's kind
I,
of meh.
I
Because it was
think
the
that,
season finale.
yes,
Remember, it was season 2 finale.
but I think that anticlimactic feeling that you have is because it's still the cycle. They have not broken the cycle at all.
Right.
And I don't think that is when the boy in white says you're asking the wrong questions. First of all, thanks for being enigmatic. Tell us something that's like useful, please.
Every movie and TV show does that, correct?
Right? Oh god, it's ridiculous. But I mean, we're playing by supernatural rules, so I get it.
I hate their rules.
Somebody needs to rewrite these rules. But the whole idea. Well, you know what? Actually, really, speaking of that, you know what really drives me crazy? What drives me crazy is when main characters don't have any sense of agency of their own, that they can't ask questions that would actually be helpful. And maybe this is just me. Maybe I'm just being like, oh, yeah, whatever. But I'm just like, why wouldn't you ask the hard questions? And also, why would you ever look away? Like, okay, anyway, we'll save that for another time. So okay, so we sort of we've come to a pivotal crossroads now. Although I do sort of want to go back to Fatima and Boyd and say Fatima is telling the story about building a golem. right? Which is what you have to tell me what you thought about that, because darn, that's crazy. And this idea that she is somehow still connected to Smiley, oh, that's terrifying.
You don't like Smiley?
And not particularly. He really creeps me right
You
the
don't
heck
want to be
out.
connected to Brother Smiley?
No. Oh my gosh, no, I'd rather chew crushed glass, thank you.
Well, yeah, I think that I think that whole aspect. I'm sorry, I was trying to add something to the. There we go. Um, yeah, it was kind of creepy. Like the thing is about Fatima, I don't know if I like where what her character is. I don't know if it's. I don't know. It's like okay, the pregnant thing. I kind of rolled my eyes, and then the payoff was pretty cool. And then now they have her doing this, and it's like I don't know how I feel about it. Maybe it's the payoff that you know. Maybe it's the payoff that will make me change my mind about it, because it definitely did about the whole pregnancy thing. The way that it ended up was
Yeah.
definitely worth it. So I don't know how I feel about her character, and I really like her. I liked her character a lot in the beginning, and I I hope they don't suffer from the whole I don't know what to do with her, thing. Like while we're getting to the end.
Well, the idea that she is taking control of a situation that has zero control for her to take is a testament to the character's depth and the character's tenacity. Because I feel very strongly that what she said is the heart of who the character is. That is, she's been pushed to the point that she needs to take some control back. And I mean, the idea of building a golem, although I don't really understand, I guess I can see tangentially how she got there. I mean, obviously the creatures live underground. Obviously there is something about the dirt that matters. Um, but how this sort of works and how she thinks she's going to bring it to life, that's beyond me. I mean, do you have any ideas?
I have I have zero ideas. I'm honestly I'm honestly like just like most of the audience. I know, and I feel bad because I know that the audience is looking for us to come up with the answers, and there's certain things I don't have anything. So but I don't know what that is, but maybe I don't want to. I guess if we jump ahead a little bit, it's probably connected to the very end of the scene. Maybe
Hmm.
maybe those, I mean, end of the episode. Sorry, uh, maybe that's what it is.
I I don't know if I missed what was happening with the magic there. I'm not sure what it is,
Uh huh.
but it was very very interesting. So to round out our episode, we have Tabitha and Ethan heading off on the quest on the let's find the Lake of Tears, and he now feels, I guess, pretty sure. I am saying that I think the Lake of Tears is actually the swimming pool. Um, I don't think the Lake of Tears is where they are. I don't think the settlement that's the Lake of Tears. And they go through this elaborate process. Ethan finds a hurt bird. They and the oddly, the bird is not a crow. It's not a yeah. It's very weird because we haven't seen any other birds in From that are not crows. So I don't know what that is. But they get to the settlement. I'll talk about Donna having a conversation with Tabitha in a second, but they get to the settlement and they do this ritual where they are sprinkling water on the bird, and someone finds this large piece of rope. Now, the reason that they're sprinkling water on the bird is because Ethan is sure that if it's the Lake of Tears, it will heal completely whatever is broken or hurt. So, interesting. We don't know what the end result of that is because someone pulls this rope from the shore that's clearly been hidden for a long time, and there is something in the middle of the water that they are pulling up. We fast forwarded and rewinded and fast forward to see if we could figure out what the heck this thing is. We could not make anything out in it. So I don't know what is supposed to be, like inside of that representationally. I have guesses, but I don't know exactly what's supposed to be in there. But it is very odd that there's this like synchronicity of they're trying to heal the bird and all of a sudden something gets pulled up from the water. Sort of like every time they learn something or are close to learning something, even by exclusion, something else happens. I need to say two things. One, so Donna actually tells Ethan that no, I'm sorry, she doesn't tell Ethan. She tells Julie. I'm sorry, she tells Tabitha. I got too many characters in my head. Donna sits down and she talks to Tabitha and she says, look, you know what? You got to do better. You have to be there for your kids. I don't want to get another letter on my dresser the way that you put that letter on my dresser. This is uncool. And I mean, the way that Donna says most things is, she's very pragmatic. She's very sort of down to earth, but she's also, I think, very sage in her like, hey, here's some wisdom for you. I am still not sure about Donna, only because nothing ever happens to Donna. And I hate to say it because like Randall sort of called this out and he's like, well, what about her? Yeah. It feels so red herring-y, but at the same time, I also kind of wonder about what's going on. So let's talk about that last scene. What did you think about what sort of the culmination of this journey to go get food, which is what they were on their way to go do, and what ends up happening as a result of that? What did you think about all of that?
Okay, when they started pulling the rope, I was thinking, oh man, what is this like going? Like what is that? And then when the thing started moving in the water, I'm like, why are you still pulling it?
Yeah,
I was like, I would have stopped pulling. I would have cut it. I'd have cut the rope. So yeah, it was definitely like there was kind of a sense of wonder and fear. So I mean, and then of course when it went to credits, I was like, dang it. I was like, oh, I was so excited to see what it was, but I'm starting to get to a point where I realize when the end is, even if I can't see the time stamp,
yeah.
I can kind of feel like, oh, it's about to end right here. Watch, so.
I feel like this says something about the storytelling. It is extremely even. It feels like we go nowhere, which honestly, that's from. We are going nowhere, but we really are going somewhere. Like, if you look back at what we have learned so far and what we have experienced so far, we know a lot more than we think we know. It's just we haven't contextually gotten the cipher to put the puzzle all together, but we know a heck of a lot of story puzzle pieces. So we are getting somewhere. It just doesn't feel like it. And hats off to the storytellers. Hats off to the writers here. From is extremely evenly paced. Even when it's filler episode, we haven't actually had a bunch of those. We've really had a lot of character development episodes, but it's frustrating in probably the best way possible. It's frustrating because that's the point. The point is we can't get out of this place. We know that the first song that plays in the diner is "We Got to Get Out of This Place if it's the last thing we ever do." It is absolutely a part of the storytelling mechanics that
Oh yeah, that's Neil Young.
yeah, is it?
Yeah,
That's it. It's such a good song. It was such a
it's a great
perfect.
song. Yeah,
It's a
it's so
perfect first
funny. At the
song.
time, I didn't recognize it, but then when I listened to it, I was like, "Oh yeah, I know this song. That was the title track of one of his album. This Place Is Nowhere, or something like that."
I actually really like that song.
Yeah, it's a
I
great
feel
song.
like it's
That's
a
one of
perfect.
it's one of his standards.
It's a perfect. It's a perfect first song for the episode or for the series because it absolutely tells you everything you need to know about what's happening in From. So okay, so I mean there obviously there's a lot more things that kind of happen in the episode, but I think we've sort of covered the highlights and gotten a lot of what's happening dynamically between everybody. What are your final thoughts on this episode?
My final thoughts is that it was a cool episode. I thought maybe by the title this was going to be one of the bigger episodes, but it was like I think it was like I said, calm before the storm. I think
Mm.
that this episode was kind of like gearing us up for what is to come, and so I'm looking forward to whatever is going to happen. I haven't seen a trailer for the next episode. Have you seen one?
I did, and that's where I got my information about what I think is in that thing that they just pulled out of the lake. It's in
Oh,
fact
okay.
we saw it in promo material where they're at the settlement and there are these big scarecrow creatures that kind of come to life.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, they're terrifying, but I don't know if they. It's so hard to tell in this place whether things are good aligned or bad aligned. We know that there are special talismans. We know there are wards of protection. Like we know that there's a lot of stuff happening here, and it's not always necessarily bad or, always wants to eat you. It's just when things are bad, they're very, very, very bad. Yeah, so who knows if the big scarecrow people, maybe they just want to, say hi and have a bowl of cereal with them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be.
Could be, yeah.
Well, I enjoyed this episode. I had a really good time with it. I feel like we laid down a lot of story tracks. I'm really excited to see what happens with Jade and his trip and see what he can uncover because I think it's going to be wild. So I hope that our next episode gives us a big peek into Jade's druggy mind. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And as just sort of a parting, hey, where do we go from here? The episodes that they asked us to watch in preparation for season 4, some of them are right on so far.
Mm.
And I think some of them, go back and watch the very beginning, just the first couple scenes of episode 2, season 1, and you learn a lot about what's really happening. And then when you see it in retrospect to the rest of the seasons, a lot of stuff kind of falls into place. And again, I think we know a lot of the story puzzle pieces. We just don't know how to actually put them all together. But man, we really have come a long way in this story. A long way. Oh, okay. Well, we'll look forward to seeing what happens in the next episode. And hopefully everybody has, well, I guess I'll just leave it with, I think there's going to be some scary moments in the next episode. I'm excited.
I'm gonna need a nightlight, y'all.
I was just going to say, I'll make you a cup of hot chocolate and hold your hand so that you
Oh,
can get
thank
scared.
you so much.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Appreciate that.
We'll get through it together.
Aw.
All right. So with that, Kinte, how can we find you on social media? And tell us about what's coming up on pilot season cartoon edition, because I'm excited about that.
All right. Well, you can get me at Kinte Ferguson. That's KinteFergerson, and that's on Instagram. Next Wednesday, we will be airing 2 episodes of our new show, Pilot Season Cartoon Edition.
Yay.
And we have some really good ones. We have the pilot episode of Voltron. And we also have the pilot season of Futurama. And one thing I didn't know, your boy, Henry Cavill, is in a live action. They're doing a live action Voltron.
Yeah, I heard that. Sounds like it's going to be interesting. I don't know.
It's going to be straight to streaming, though, for Amazon Prime.
That's not bad. Yeah, if I've learned anything about Amazon and a lot of the streamers, it's that sometimes that can actually make things better. So I won't complain. I, over this last weekend, saw Mortal Kombat.
I did too.
Did you? It was, you know what? It was fun. It was so fun. If you like that kind of high action and highly concept related video game to movie idea, yeah, this one actually really hit pretty hard. I also really liked the story. I thought it was good. Carl Urban,
kind of a tearjerker in the beginning.
Yeah, he's come a lot. Carl Urban has come so far. I'm sorry, I'm not trying. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't think of himself this way because he's just been steadily acting forever and ever and ever since Xena Warrior Princess. But when I see him on the screen now, I am so astonished at his, let's just say, range, because he can play any character and he does it so well. So that's what I did over the weekend. Really enjoyed it. Had a great time. I also watched a movie called Exit 8, which I highly recommend, especially if you are getting psyched and excited about backrooms. If you like the idea of backrooms, go watch Exit 8. It's right now. It's on, you can purchase it or you can rent it on Fandango or Amazon. The idea, it's in Japanese, but it's English subtitled, and there's not a lot of talking. If you've ever played the video game Exit 8, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Markiplier actually did a big walkthrough of it, which was great. It's fantastic the way that they did. Liminal spaces are some of the scariest things ever. And Exit 8 absolutely just knocked it out of the park. It was really, really, really good. So that's what I did over the weekend. That's my big adventure, was 2 movies. If you want to reach me, you can usually find me on everything Indy Radio with Kinte, and I'm trying to relaunch my websites. We'll see what happens. So until next week, I thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful week. Get ready for next week's From. It's going to be scary.
Thank you for listening to Season 4 of Talking From. Be sure to join us next time as we get into Episode 5. What a long, strange trip it's been. Originally airing on May 17, 2026 in this next chapter. Boyd and Jade set off on a desperate, mind-bending search for answers, while a food run to the settlement takes a chilling turn. It sounds like another tense ride deeper into the mystery, where every step forward only makes the danger feel closer. Until next time, keep your theories ready, keep watching closely, and stay out of the dark. Presented by Indy Radio.